So what exactly elevates a guitar from being merely a fantastic instrument to being an icon, to being an absolute legend? Well, today we're going to talk about the guitar that changed everything. The original solid body electric guitar. This is the Telecaster. And had the Telecaster never been invented, well, it would have absolutely changed the course of music history. And I think we'd probably be living in the darkest timeline. However, this guitar was made, it changed everything. So here are a few things that made this guitar absolutely legendary. Now, the first thing that elevates the Telecaster to absolute legendary status, and I think the most obvious, is Leo Fender beat everybody to the market. In the late 40s, there was a rush to get out a solid body guitar. There was a buzz around solid bodies. They knew the arch tops with single coils, as amps became louder, as shows got bigger, they had a huge feedback problem, and everybody knew solid body guitars would solve that problem. So in the late 40s, musicians, inventors, everybody was creating prototypes, shopping them around to Rickenbacker, to Gretsch, to Gibson, all the companies, hoping that somebody would pick up their designs. Meanwhile, Leo Fender was in the laboratory brewing up something so simple that would be an absolute revolutionary design. Now, he knew from lap steel guitars that they would sound good. You didn't need the arch top to project. You didn't need acoustic projection at all. Everything would be done with electronics. So in the end, you look at the Telecaster, well, isn't it just a fancy lap steel? He knew what he was doing for sure. It's just a slab of wood, some strings, and a pickup, and off you go. So the most, simple of designs to a complex problem, and the Telecaster was born. Now, the second thing that helped elevate the Telecaster to an absolute icon was its simplicity. As I alluded to earlier, the guitars at the time, hugely complex, beautiful instruments, arch tops, F-holes, the necks had to be glued in at just the precise angle, otherwise everything would be ruined, 3+3 headstocks, tilt backs, everything the Telecaster is not. And so when this thing came out, I think it just absolutely blew people's mind. Even something simple that we take for granted, like all the tuning machines on the same side. No tilt back on the headstock. People are like, whoa, that's weird. It got people talking for sure. Or Leo was like, why glue in a neck joint? If something happens to your neck, just bring it in. I'll pull four screws and put a new neck on for you. Done. And people are like, whoa, that's crazy. Okay. Or a pot goes bad. On an arch top, you need specialty tools to try to get a pot through an F-hole and then put a new one in or whatever. Leo was like, well, I'll just pull 2 screws and put a new pot in there for you. No big deal. And that got people talking. And all through the 50s, people were absolutely tripping over themselves to even try a Telecaster. It was so new. It was so different. It was the antitheses of the guitars at the time. So simple, so easy to work on, even using like a maple neck, strong, rugged. Leo's like, anything goes wrong, I'll fix it for you in like minutes. That was his ethos. I'm creating something very simple, very utilitarian, very rugged, and completely different than anything else on the market. Number 3, we need to talk about the bridge pickup. I think many people, when they think about a Telecaster, they think about the bridge pickup. And of course, Leo Fender being absolutely pragmatic in everything he did, nothing needlessly complex. Well, he just modified a pickup he had already made for, again, his lap steels. So he modified it for the Telecaster and, compared to like something like a Stratocaster, which we may talk about in another video, because that is absolutely an iconic guitar. It's taller, it's wider, there's more winds on the pickup, so the shape of the Telecaster pickup is very different, but it led to some of those other iconic tones in the future as well. And it had a base plate to support the bobbin. It was suspended in a metal bridge, like things that we take for granted, but people had just never seen before. And it created, such a unique biting tone. And when we think Telecaster bridge, you might think, epic country licks. You might think about early 70s, a cranked Marshall and, a single coil bridge Telecaster tone absolutely can raise the hairs on your arm. There's just something about like a Marshall and a Tele bridge pickup with some crunch that just has like this electric energy to it that a humbucker just can't, reproduce. But there's something about, a little crunch and that bridge pickup that just has that, that bite and that energy to it. It has been used in almost every genre, since the 50s, from clean and pristine to just bite your head off to sweet sustain, all of those things. Yeah, absolutely revolutionary and part of what makes the Telecaster so iconic. Next up was the instant popularity of the Telecaster. Right from 1950 with the Broadcaster, 51 with the Nocaster, and late 51, 52, finally the Telecaster. Bands all over the world were clamoring to get their hands on this brand new guitar that would give you a playing experience and a tone unlike anything else on the market. So right from the beginning, this launch was popular. All the way through the 50s and 60s, an incredibly popular guitar. And that can't be said of every guitar launch, including some iconic guitars. Yeah, this was just something that was just world-changing. And when I started playing guitar, it was kind of in the era where everybody was playing 7-string guitars, drop tunings, copious amounts of gain, and Telecasters were looked upon as like sort of a relic of an earlier time. Now, thankfully, they've gone through a bit of a resurgence. And for myself personally, the first time I decided I wanted to have some more iconic tones in my arsenal, like picking up, a Strat, Tele, Les Paul, those kind of guitars. The first time I took a chance, I bought a Mexican Telecaster. It had the ceramic pickups in it, so a little bit warmer than the newer ones. Olympic white, put a mint pickguard on it, and I was in love. Ever since I tried that Telecaster, yeah, it changed the way I thought about them. And thankfully, yeah, they've been going through a big resurgence. So amazing guitars, but popular from the beginning and, spanning so many different eras and genres. Absolutely incredible. Now, the next iconic thing we need to talk about when we're talking about a Telecaster is the ashtray bridge. Now, most guitars had tailpieces at the time, really ornate, beautiful. You'd put your strings through the tailpiece, up over a bridge, and off you go. Now, compared to that, the ashtray bridge must have looked so pedestrian, so out of place, so unaesthetic, unassuming, but there's something magical that happens with the ashtray bridge. When you put your strings through the back of the guitar instead of a tailpiece, up over those saddles, and as I mentioned when I was talking about the bridge pickup, it's suspended in the ashtray bridge as well. There's just a bite and an attack and a sustain and a vibration that happens on the guitar as you're playing it, with the strings coming right through and right over those saddles. Good contact with the bridge. We cannot talk about the Telecaster tone without mentioning the ashtray bridge. So yeah, just all the parts working together. And I think by the late 50s, you could actually use both pickups together. And again, that's become an iconic Telecaster tone over time. I think the bridge pickup is still, number one. But that position two, once you could get both of these pickups on together at the same time, again, became just a sought after tone, something very, very unique. So yeah, had to mention the ashtray bridge when we're talking about all the areas, when we're talking about how rugged this guitar is, how utilitarian, how easy to fix, all those things kind of came together and just made this an absolutely mind-blowing instrument. Now, I could talk about the Telecaster forever, but this really has become my favorite guitar of all time for some of the same reasons as 1950, 1952, all the way up to, 2022. Some of those things are so endearing. The practicality, the tone, yeah, just the reliability of this instrument, even some hidden features like it's one of the easiest guitars to do behind the nut bends. You see people, using that you cannot do on anything with a tilt back headstock. Some kind of like little secret things you can do with Telecasters that are really fun as well. So even though it is, very basic, very utilitarian, you can get a surprising amount of tones, sounds great with gain, all of those things right from the 50s. And the list of players, if you look at the list of Telecaster players over time, it's just full of legends. And even people who are known for playing Strats or Les Pauls or whatever, also, used Telecasters on some of the most iconic tracks. So everything from, country, blues, even people using these for jazz, it's really transcended almost every genre and it's instantly recognizable. It was the first, so absolutely iconic, absolutely legendary guitar. This is the Telecaster. So that's the Telecaster in my own words. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Other than that, you can check out all my stuff in the video description below, including the T-Style t-shirt and all the gear I use. All that stuff is down there. Other than that, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a great day. Take care.